A courier knocked once and left a flat mailer against the door. Inside was a certified letter and a copied meeting summary with my badge number in the header. I flipped to the notes section and watched my hands shake as I read it aloud. The document claimed I interrupted and admitted fault. The problem was the clock in the corner, 9:10 a.m. I was badge logged through security at 9:14 on another floor with witnesses. If the letter went into my file, Human Resources would close the case. I folded the page along the lie and set it back in the envelope. Someone had written the ending for me. At the time, I thought it was a misunderstanding. Later, I learned it was a paper trail. My coffee was going cold beside the sink. The cheap ceramic mug left a brown ring. I pressed my thumb into the paper crease again, like I could flatten it into truth. I didn't call anyone. I didn't pace. I stood there in socks, staring at my own badge number like it belonged to a stranger. The corporate park was 20 minutes away if traffic behaved. I left at 8:05 every morning. Same route. Same right turn by the tire shop with the blue flag out front. I grabbed my notebook from my tote and slid it under my arm, the way I always did when I wanted to feel prepared. The notebook mattered more than the letter did. I locked the front door and checked it twice. In the car, I set the envelope on the passenger seat. I didn't open it again. I didn't trust my hands not to rip something I might need later. I drove in with the heater blowing at my wrists. My phone stayed face down in the cup holder. I kept seeing that typed sentence in my head. Interrupted. Admitted fault. Refused direction. That wasn't me. That wasn't even my voice. He raised his voice. I stayed quiet. The shared legal services floor sat above the main offices, all glass and soft carpet. Everyone spoke in low tones up there, like volume could be used against you. I swiped my badge at the lobby gate at 8:41. Green light. Normal beep. Security guard Ron Patel nodded at me. He always did. He looked at the envelope once, then looked away. I walked past the reception desk and took the elevator alone. The mirror inside showed my face too clearly. I looked tired, but not guilty. On the 4th floor, I stepped into the hallway outside conference room C. The air smelled like lemon cleaner and printer toner. I could hear a meeting already in progress, voices muffled through the door. I didn't go in. Not yet. I stopped at the narrow table by the copier and pulled out my notebook. The cover was scuffed at the corners. I flipped to the date from 2 weeks ago and smoothed the page with my palm. My handwriting was tight that day. Straight lines. No flourish. 9-6 a million. He stepped closer. 988 m. He said my name like a warning. 9:10 a.m. I stopped talking. I didn't write his name in the notes. I wrote what he did. I could still hear it. Grant Mercer in the hallway, in that practiced manager voice that always landed sharp when the door was closed. He raised his voice, not enough to draw a crowd, but enough to make my stomach go quiet. I hadn't argued. I'd stared at the carpet and let him finish. Now this letter was telling a different story. A cleaner story. A story where he de-escalated and I became the problem. I slid the certified letter out again and held it under the copier light. The meeting summary was attached behind it, clipped like a finished product. The header had a code I didn't recognize, and my badge number printed cleanly. There was a paragraph under staff conduct that made my throat tighten. It quoted me. It put words in my mouth with quotation marks. I traced the line with my finger, slow. The sentence was short, confident, ugly. The kind of sentence that would make an auditor raise an eyebrow. I pulled my notebook closer and compared my own notes. My notes had times. My notes had pauses. My notes had the moment Grant blocked the hallway with his shoulder, like he was keeping the exit for himself. The meeting summary had none of that. Someone had written me as a stereotype. Emotional. Defensive. Uncooperative. My phone buzzed once. I didn't pick it up. I watched it light the underside of the envelope. Blue glow against white paper. I lifted the summary again and noticed something small. In the bottom corner, the timestamp didn't just show 9:10 a.m. It showed seconds. 9 hours, 10 minutes, and 32 seconds. That level of detail didn't come from memory. It came from a system, a template, a place where someone could type fast and sound official. I flipped the page and found the notes section again. There was a line that made my mouth go dry. Employee appeared confused. Confused. Like I couldn't track my own day. Like I couldn't be trusted with patients. schedules, compliance, anything. I tightened my grip on the paper until the edge cut into my finger. In my notebook, I wrote one more line, right then, in the hallway. Confused is what you call someone when you want control. I heard footsteps and looked up. My coworker, Tessa Lane, came around the corner with a stack of folders. She slowed when she saw my face. "You okay?" she asked, voice careful. I didn't answer the way she wanted. I didn't give her comfort. "Were you in conference room C that morning?" I asked. She blinked. "The day he got loud?" "Yes," I said. One word. Clean. Final. Tessa shifted the folders against her hip. "I was walking past," she said. "I heard it." "Him," I said, not letting it float. She nodded once. "I heard him." That was all I needed from her right then. Not sympathy. Not a hug. A witness. I slid the meeting summary back into the envelope and kept my notebook out. I didn't want anyone to see it, but I needed it close. Like a key. The conference room door opened down the hall. A few people filed out, laughing too hard for that early. I saw Human Resources Director Nadine Brooks among them, her lanyard straight, her smile trained. Behind her, Auditor Elias Chen walked with a tablet tucked under his arm, and behind both of them, Grant Mercer stepped into the hallway and looked right at me. His eyes went to the envelope, then to my notebook, then back to my face, like he was measuring how much I knew. I held my ground without moving an inch. "Say it once more." "On record." He smiled, small and controlled, and kept walking. When he passed, I caught a glimpse of the meeting summary again through the envelope opening. The author line was still there, hiding in plain sight, and I finally read it clearly. Prepared by Grant Mercer. The conference room smelled like dry markers and lemon wipes. I pushed the envelope deeper into my tote and kept my notebook on my lap, thumb holding the place like a bookmark. Nadine Brooks didn't look at me when I walked in. The long table was already half full. Department Manager Keith Halpern sat near the head, jacket still on. Auditor Elias Chen had a tablet and a pen lined up perfectly. Security Supervisor Marisol Vega stood by the door with her hands folded, watching badges, watching exits. Grant Mercer took the seat across from me, calm as a brochure. I sat down. I set my notebook flat. I smoothed the top page once. "Laura," Nadine said, finally meeting my eyes. "This is a fact-finding meeting." I nodded. I didn't offer anything. I didn't argue. Keith leaned forward first. "We're here because of conduct concerns," he said. His tone was firm, like the conclusion was already written. "What conduct?" I asked. Grant answered before anyone else could. "Disruptive behavior," he said. "Refusal to follow direction." That was the trick. He made it sound like a pattern. I pulled the envelope out and slid it onto the table. Slow. The paper made a soft scraping sound on the laminate. Elias's eyes flicked to it. Nadine's hand hovered, then she didn't touch it yet. "I received this," I said. "This morning." Nadine's smile tightened. "A copy was issued to you, yes." I tapped the top page with my index finger. "It says I admitted fault." Grant's jaw worked once. "You did," he said, like he was reading off a screen. I opened my notebook and turned it toward myself. I didn't show it yet. I wanted the room to commit first. Keith spread his hands, palms up. "Laura, this isn't about feelings. It's about professional standards." I looked at the wall clock. 9:32. My shift started at 8:30. I had already missed 2 patient scheduling calls because of this room. "I want to hear the allegation," I said, in plain words. Nadine finally reached for the packet. She lifted it, straightened the pages with 2 quick taps, then read from the notes section like it was gospel. "Your behavior disrupted the meeting and violated professional standards." The sentence landed hard. It wasn't loud. It didn't need to be. Elias wrote something down. Tessa Lane sat 3 chairs away, eyes lowered, hands clenched around a paper cup. 2 team leads I barely knew watched me like I was a cautionary story. My throat felt tight, but my voice came out even. "Say it once more." "On record." The room shifted. Keith's eyebrows lifted. Nadine blinked like she hadn't expected me to ask for the same cruelty twice. Grant didn't move. He liked this. He liked the pressure. Nadine cleared her throat and repeated it, slower, careful with every word. "Your behavior disrupted the meeting and violated professional standards." I nodded once. like I was accepting a delivery. Then I reached into my tote and pulled out my notebook. I placed it on the table beside the packet and slid it forward an inch, not offering it yet, just letting it exist. The cover was worn. The pages were real. "This meeting summary says 9:10, I said. "It quotes me at 9:10. Grant leaned back. "Because that's when it happened." I looked at Nadine. "If this goes in my file, Human Resources closes the case." "That's what the letter says." Nadine's mouth tightened again. She didn't deny it. Keith's voice sharpened. "We are not here to debate timestamps." Elias finally spoke, calm and flat. "Timestamps matter when they establish sequence." Grant cut in. "She is trying to distract." I turned my head and looked at him fully. He held my gaze like he was daring me to flinch. I didn't. I reached into the envelope and pulled out the copied meeting summary. My hands were steady now. I laid it flat and pointed to the bottom corner. 9 hours, 10 minutes, and 32 seconds, I said. Seconds. Elias leaned forward and read it. Nadine watched Elias, not me. Grant's face stayed smooth. "The system records details," he said. "That's normal." "What system?" I asked. He didn't answer. That was an answer. Keith's tone dropped into something colder. "Laura, you are making this harder." I wanted to tell him I didn't come to make it easy. I came to keep my life. Instead, I opened my notebook to the date. I smoothed the page once, then held it down with my palm. "In my notes," I said, "at 9:06, you stepped closer." Grant's eyes flicked down, then up fast. "At 9:08, I continued, "you said my name like a warning." Tessa's head lifted a fraction. Nadine exhaled through her nose. "Personal impressions are not evidence." I didn't look away from the page. "Then let's stick to what is." Elias tapped his pen against the table once. "Security logs can verify movement between floors." Grant's head turned toward Elias. "Quick." "That's unnecessary." Marisol Vega by the door shifted her stance. Her hand touched the radio clipped to her belt, like she was reminded she had a role in this, too. I kept my voice level. "I was badge-logged through the lobby gate at 9:14, I said. "On another floor." Grant's smile showed for half a second. Not warmth. Calculation. Keith leaned forward, shoulders squared. "If you're saying this document is false, you are accusing your supervisor." I nodded once. "I am." The room went quiet in a way that felt expensive. Nadine stacked the pages again, neat as a verdict. "We will request security access records," she said, controlled, like she was granting mercy. Grant's fingers tapped twice on the table. He couldn't stop himself. Elias looked at me. "Do you have contemporaneous notes for the entire exchange?" I glanced down at my notebook, then back up. "Yes." Nadine's voice turned careful. "You understand what happens if we find your account inconsistent." "I understand what happens if you don't look," I said. Keith stood first, signaling the end without saying it. "We're done for now." Marisol opened the door. Air from the hallway hit my face like relief. As I stood, Nadine slid one final page across the table toward me. It wasn't the meeting summary. It was a form with my name typed at the top and one line already filled in. Administrative leave, effective today. The leave form felt warm, like it had been waiting. I carried it out to the parking lot and sat in my car with it on my knees. The sun was bright. The air was cold. My hands didn't match it. I stared at the line that mattered. Effective today. I folded the form along the printed edge and slid it into my notebook. Not because it belonged there. Because I needed one place where paper could not scatter. Administrative leave was a leash with polite wording. My phone buzzed again. This time I turned it over. A calendar alert flashed on the screen. Compliance review 10 a.m. That was the first time I felt the trap close. Leave meant I could not badge in. Leave meant I could not attend. And if I missed a compliance review, they would call it non-cooperation. I drove home slow, like speed could be used against me. At 10:02, I sat at my kitchen table with my laptop open. My coffee mug was back in the same spot, ring and all. I set my notebook beside it and smoothed the top page. I didn't call Grant. I didn't call Keith. I didn't try to talk my way out. I emailed Nadine Brooks instead, subject line clean and plain, request for records. I asked for 3 things: the meeting summary source, the security access report, and the calendar record for the morning in question. My finger hovered over send. Then I pressed down. The reply came at 10:19. Fast enough to feel practiced. We will provide relevant documentation through process. Through process meant delay. Through process meant I sat still and waited to be defined. I didn't sit still. I called Tessa Lane from my living room couch, notebook open on the armrest. She answered in a whisper. "I'm still at my desk," she said. "Don't get yourself in trouble," I said. "I already am," she said, soft. I heard papers shifting on her side. A keyboard click. Her breathing tight. "Tessa," I said, "did you get a calendar invite for that meeting?" A pause. "Yes," she said. "Everyone did." "Did it change?" I asked. Another pause. Then, "It changed twice." My stomach went quiet again. "I need you to look at the details," I said. "Not the title. The details." I heard her mouse click. Fast. "Okay," she said. "What am I looking for?" "The organizer," I said. "And the time." Tessa inhaled like she was stepping off a curb. "Organizer says Grant Mercer," she whispered. "Time says 9:10. "That's what the summary says," I said. "Now look at the history." Her voice lowered. "There's a changelog," she said. I sat up. My notebook slid. I caught it with my palm. "Read it," I said. Tessa swallowed. "It says meeting created at 8:57, she whispered. Then rescheduled at 9:12. My eyes locked on the leave form in my notebook. 9:12. Rescheduled to what? I asked. Rescheduled to 9:10, she said, like she didn't believe her own mouth. That was impossible on purpose. You cannot reschedule to the past by accident. I stared at my kitchen clock. 10:27. Seconds mattered now. Does it show who changed it? I asked. It says changed by organizer, she said. Grant, I said. Tessa exhaled. Shaky. Laura, she said, there's more. I picked up my pen. The cap clicked loud in my kitchen. Go, I said. It says location changed, she whispered. From conference room B to conference room C. My throat tightened. Conference room C was the one with the hallway door. The one where voices carried. The one where security cameras didn't look straight down the corridor. The room choice was part of it. A stage with better angles. I wrote one line in my notebook. Room selection is evidence. Tessa kept going, voice thin. And the attendee list, she said. It was edited. Who was removed? I asked. There was a small sound, like she covered her mouth. Elias Chen, she said. I blinked. The auditor? Yes, she whispered. He was removed at 9:09. The twist landed clean and sharp. Grant had tried to keep the auditor away from the meeting. Not because it was messy, because it was planned. I didn't picture Grant losing control anymore. I pictured Grant authoring control. My notebook wasn't my weakness. It was my shield. It was the one thing he couldn't edit after. I looked down at my own notes from that day. 9, 6, 9, 8, 9, 10. And now I had another timeline. A timeline made by the calendar system itself. A quiet, automatic witness. I opened my laptop and signed into the shared calendar from my end. My access still worked from home. For now, I searched the meeting title. My hands stayed steady. The entry loaded. I clicked Details. There it was. A change history panel. Times. Names. Edits. Created 8:57. Rescheduled 9:12 to 9:10. Location changed. Attendees edited. I scrolled down and found the line that made my skin prickle. Attachment added. My mouth went dry. The meeting summary had seconds. It had quote marks. It had an author line. What attachment? I whispered to my empty kitchen. The system showed a file name, short and clinical. I clicked it with one finger, like it might bite. The file opened as a document preview. The top looked familiar. A template. A header. A code. Then I saw the part that wasn't supposed to exist yet. A draft meeting summary. Dated that morning. With my badge number in the header. Prepared by Grant Mercer. Timestamp. 9 hours, 10 minutes, and 32 seconds. But the draft was created at 9:03. Before he raised his voice. Before I stopped talking. Before I became the person he wrote. I set my notebook flat and smoothed the page hard enough to hurt. Tessa's voice came through the phone again. Small. Laura, she said. Should I forward you screenshots? Yes, I said. And don't use your work printer. I hung up and stared at the screen. The story wasn't that Grant misremembered. The story was that Grant wrote the memory first, then forced the day to fit it. I reached for the leave form and pulled it back out. The paper was crisp. The ink was dark. I flipped it over and read the fine print at the bottom. It listed the process owner, Human Resources Director Nadine Brooks. I didn't think Nadine was neutral anymore. I thought she was placed, like a door held too long. My phone buzzed with a new email from Nadine Brooks. Subject line, meeting materials. I clicked it, and the first line in her message was a sentence I had never seen before, followed by a number. She wrote, "See incident report reference 0417. Nadine's email sat on my screen like a dare. I read the first line again, then dragged the cursor over the number, 417. I wrote it in my notebook and underlined it twice. That number was not for me. It was for them. I clicked reply and kept the subject line the same. I didn't add emotion. I added requests. Please provide the incident report for reference 0417, I typed. Please include original creation time, edit history, and attachment list. I hit send. Then I set my phone face down and stood up. My kitchen felt too small for what was happening. The table was covered in paper. The certified letter. The leave form. My notebook open to the day Grant decided my voice for me. I needed something they couldn't rewrite with a template. I walked to my car and opened the glove compartment. The hinge squeaked, dry and familiar. I kept receipts in there the way my dad did, folded and forgotten until they mattered. Insurance card. Old fast food receipt. A crumpled parking validation ticket from a dentist office. Then I saw it. A stiff white slip, double stapled, with the corporate park logo faint in the corner. I pulled it out and smoothed it on my thigh. Parking receipt entry. 8:52 a.m. Level 2B. I held it up to the morning light like it was fragile. Evidence does not need to be loud. It needs to be stubborn. I took a photo of the receipt with my phone, then set the receipt back in my notebook pocket, tucked behind the leave form. Paper on paper. Truth protected by clutter. At 11:40, my phone buzzed with a text from Tessa. Screenshots sent to your personal email. I opened my laptop and found them. 3 images. Change history panel. Organizer edits. Attendee removal. Attachment added. I printed nothing. I saved everything twice. I forwarded the screenshots to Nadine with one line. Attached. Calendar change history showing organizer edits prior to meeting time. No greeting. No apology. At 12:13, Nadine called. I stared at the ringing screen for 2 full seconds, then answered. Laura, she said. Her tone was soft enough to sound reasonable. You need to be careful about what you're sending. Careful. Like I was holding a weapon, not a record. I'm sending what the system shows, I said. That system is not for disputes, she said. It's for scheduling. It's for time, I said. And time is the dispute. A pause. Paper rustled on her end. She was flipping pages. We have an incident report, she said. It will be reviewed. You told me to see it, I said, tapping the email on my screen. Reference 0417. Another pause. That is internal, she said. I'm internal, I said. Or I was. Yesterday. Her voice tightened. You are on leave. And you are still using my name in documents, I said. That landed. I could hear it. Nadine exhaled like she was choosing her next move. If you want representation, she said, you can speak with counsel. Counsel. Another door. I want the incident report, I said. I want the creation time. I want the edit log. Those are not always available, she said. They are when someone authored the day, I said. Her silence was too long. Then she switched tactics. Grant Mercer has made a statement, she said. Your notes are your version. My notes have times, I said. His summary has seconds. That doesn't prove anything, she said, voice sharp now. It proves a system was used, I said, and I know where to look inside it. I could hear her swallow. She didn't like that. Laura, she said, you are escalating. I'm documenting, I said. I ended the call before she could reframe it. My hands were steady again. That scared me a little. Calm can look like confidence. It can also look like someone with nothing left to lose. At 1:05, I drove back to the corporate park. I wasn't allowed inside. I knew that. But the building had a lobby. The building had a security desk. The building had cameras that did not care about Nadine's tone. I parked on level 2B on purpose. I took the receipt out and held it against the steering wheel. Same logo, same lot, same truth. Inside the lobby, the air was overcooled and smelled like fresh paint. Security guard Ron Patel looked up when I approached. "Laura," he said, surprised. "You okay?" I set my phone on the counter. Screen dark. I held my notebook under my arm. "I need a copy of my badge access record for the morning of the 7th, I said. "Specifically around 9. Ron blinked. I'm not asking you to, I said. "I'm asking you who can." His eyes flicked to the cameras, then back to me. "Security Supervisor Marisol Vega," he said, quiet. "Is she in?" I asked. He hesitated, then nodded toward a door behind the desk. "She's here." Ron picked up the desk phone. His fingers moved like he didn't want to be seen doing it. He said a name, then covered the mouthpiece. "She's coming," he murmured. I stood still. I didn't pace. I watched the lobby clock tick. At 1:11, Marisol stepped out. Her uniform was crisp. Her radio was clipped high. Her eyes were the kind that notice hands. "Laura," she said. Neutral. Not friendly. Not cruel. "I'm on leave," I said. "But my name is on an incident report. I need my access record." Marisol's gaze went to my notebook, then to my phone on the counter, then back to my face. "Do you have a request in writing?" she asked. "Yes," I said, and opened my notebook to a clean page. I wrote one sentence, slow and legible, then tore the page out. "Request, badge access log for Laura, badge number ending 47, morning of the 7th. I slid it across the counter with 2 fingers. Marisol read it once. Then she looked up. "Why?" she asked. "Because a meeting summary says I was somewhere at 9:10, I said. And I wasn't. Marisol didn't react. She picked up the paper and turned toward the back office. "Wait here," she said. I waited. I watched the lobby door open and close. I watched Ron pretend to type. At 1:18, Marisol returned with a single sheet in her hand. She didn't hand it to me right away. She held it like she was deciding what it would cost. "This is not a full report," she said. "It's a snapshot. I'll take it," I said. She set it on the counter and placed a finger on one line. "Lobby gate scan," she read. 9:14. I felt the relief hit my ribs like a held breath released. Then Marisol moved her finger down. "Another scan," she said. 9:10. My stomach dropped. "That can't be right," I said, voice low. Marisol's eyes stayed flat. "It's what the system shows." I leaned closer and read the line myself. 9:10. 4th floor. Conference room C, wing door. My mouth went dry. That scan would support Grant. That scan would bury me. I looked up at Marisol. "Is that door a badge reader?" I asked. "It is," she said. "Who else can trigger it?" I asked. Marisol didn't answer at first. Her gaze slid to Ron, then back to me. "Sometimes," she said carefully, "a badge can be scanned without the person." I stared at her. I pulled my notebook toward me and wrote 2 words. "Badge proxy." I looked back at the sheet. The line had something else on it, smaller than the time. A device identifier. I pointed to it with my nail. "What is this code?" I asked. Marisol's jaw tightened once. "That is the reader unit." "Can it be pulled?" I asked, to see who accessed it. Marisol's eyes didn't soften, but they shifted. That was the closest thing to confirmation I'd get from her. "That would be part of an incident report," she said. I tapped the paper. "Reference 0417, I said. Marisol's lips pressed together. Then she did something small that felt huge. She slid the sheet closer to me and said, very quietly, "Keep that." I folded it once, then twice, and tucked it behind the parking receipt in my notebook. 2 pieces of paper. 2 times. 1 lie in the middle. As I turned to leave, my phone buzzed with a new message. From an unknown number. 1 line. "No greeting. I have the draft you're looking for. Meet me at 6:15. At 6:12, I sat in my car under the garage lights. My notebook was open on my lap, the parking receipt tucked behind the security snapshot like a pressed leaf. 615 was a number that sounded like a trap. I watched every person who walked past my hood. Shoes, lanyards, a tote bag, a set of keys swinging from a finger. At 6:16, someone tapped my passenger window twice. It was Elias Chen, the auditor. His tie was loosened. His tablet was gone. He held a plain manila folder like it weighed more than paper. I unlocked the door. He slid into the seat and shut it fast. "I can't be seen with you," he said. "I'm already seen," I said, and held up the leave form like a receipt. Elias nodded once. "I was removed from the invite," he said. "Then they added me back after." I didn't ask how he knew. I already knew. He opened the folder and pulled out a stapled packet with a header code I recognized. He didn't hand it to me at first. He angled it so I could read. Incident report reference 0417. My throat tightened. "That's real," I said. "It's real," he said. "And it's edited." He flipped the top page and pointed to a section titled Access Verification. A device identifier sat in the margin, the same code I had seen at the lobby desk. "I pulled this before it was locked," Elias said, voice low. "The wing door scan at 9:10 is not your badge." I stared at him. "Then whose is it?" Elias didn't look proud. He looked tired. "It's a proxy scan," he said. A badge was presented. "The person wasn't you." I slid my notebook closer and pulled out the parking receipt. The double staples caught the light. Entry 8:52. A. M. Level Cat 2. I tapped it twice. "I was parking," I said. "I wasn't on the 4th floor." Elias's gaze held on the receipt, then on my face. "This is what breaks it open," he said. I felt anger try to rise. I kept it behind my teeth. "Why help me?" I asked. He looked down at the incident report. "Because the meeting summary was drafted before the meeting," he said. "That isn't sloppy. That's authored." I closed my notebook and set my palm on it hard. "What happens next?" I asked. Elias's voice turned procedural. "There's an all-hands briefing tomorrow morning," he said. "Same conference room. Leadership present. And Grant will be there," I said. "Yes," he said. "And Nadine." I stared through the windshield at the dark glass of the building. "They'll bury it," I said. Elias shook his head once. "Not if it's read aloud," he said. "Not if the correction is spoken in front of witnesses." He slid the folder onto my lap. "Bring this," he said. "Bring your receipt. Bring your notebook. Keep your voice flat." My fingers tightened on the folder edge. "If I walk in, security will stop me," I said. Elias's mouth twitched, not quite a smile. "They won't," he said. "Not tomorrow." "Why not?" I asked. He didn't answer. He opened the car door and stepped out into the garage light. Before he shut it, he said one more thing. "Do not mention me." Then he walked away like he had never been there. The next morning, I wore the same shoes I always wore to work. Nothing dramatic. Nothing new. I clipped my badge on out of habit, then stopped and slid it into my pocket. I carried the manila folder under my arm. My notebook was in my tote. The parking receipt was pressed between pages like a secret. The lobby was busier than usual. Voices bounced off glass. Someone had set out a tray of pastries on a side table, like sugar could soften consequences. Security Supervisor Marisol Vega stood by the conference room door with a small clipboard. She watched people file in. Grant Mercer walked past me in a clean shirt, smiling at the right faces. Nadine Brooks followed him, expression smooth, hair pinned tight. Keith Halpern was already inside, talking to someone I didn't recognize. The person wore a blazer and a visitor badge. Leadership. I stepped toward the door. Marisol's hand lifted slightly, a silent question. I didn't slow. I didn't rush. I just kept moving. Marisol glanced at my face, then at the folder, then back at my eyes. She stepped to the side. That was it. That was the permission. I walked into the conference room and felt every head turn. Grant's smile froze for half a second. Nadine's eyes narrowed like she was counting exits. Keith's voice cut through the room. "Laura," he said, too loud, "you are on leave." I set the folder on the table with a firm slide. I kept my tote on my shoulder. "I'm not here to work," I said. "I'm here to correct a record." Elias wasn't in the room. I didn't look for him. The leadership woman's gaze moved from my face to the folder. "What is this?" she asked. Nadine answered fast. "Internal materials," she said. "She should not have them." I opened my notebook and pulled out the parking receipt. The double staples made a dry snapping sound as I flattened it. I slid the receipt across the table toward leadership. "This is where I was at 8:52, I said. "The summary says I was in your wing at 9:10. Grant's voice hit first, sharp. "This is manipulation," he said. "She disrupted the meeting and violated professional standards." The same line. The same defamation. Again, in front of more people. I looked at leadership and didn't blink. "Say it once more," I said. "On record." Grant's jaw flexed. Nadine's lips pressed tight. Keith shifted like he wanted to stop it, but the room was watching now. The team leads. The compliance staff. Security. The pastries untouched. Grant repeated it, slower, like he owned the air. "Your behavior disrupted the meeting and violated professional standards." I nodded once. Then I opened the manila folder and pulled out the incident report reference 0417. I flipped to the access section and placed my finger on the device identifier. "This is the wing door scan," I said. "And this report says it was a proxy badge presentation." Nadine's voice snapped. "That is an interpretation." I lifted my notebook and turned it so leadership could see the day's page. Tight handwriting. Times. Simple verbs. "Here's my contemporaneous notes," I said. "And here's a parking receipt with a stamped time." I pushed both forward an inch. The leadership woman took the receipt first. She turned it over, then back again. She checked the logo, the lot level, the entry time. Then she took the incident report and scanned down. Her face didn't change much, but her eyes did. She looked at Nadine. "Who authored this report?" she asked. Nadine's smile tried to reappear. "Human resources," she said. "That is not an answer," leadership said. Nadine's hand twitched toward the folder like she wanted to pull it back. I spoke before she could. "Read the creation time," I said, and tapped the line. Leadership's finger traced down the page. Then she read it aloud. "Draft created at 9:03, she said, voice clear. "Meeting listed at 9:10. The room made a sound like a held breath finally released. Grant leaned forward, palms on the table. "That's a system error," he said. "Templates exist." "No abbreviations," I said even, and pointed at the line he was trying to outrun. "Read the editor log." Leadership flipped one page. Her brows drew together. Nadine's voice rose. "This is not the forum. It is now," leadership said, quiet and sharp. She read one more line aloud, and this time the room went still. "Editor, Nadine Brooks," she said. "Approval, Grant Mercer." No one spoke right away. Leadership closed the incident report and set it flat on the table. She didn't stack it. She didn't slide it away. She left it where everyone could see it. "This record is being corrected," she said. Her voice didn't rise. It didn't need to. "Effective immediately." Grant Mercer opened his mouth. Nothing came out. Nadine Brooks did speak. "There are procedures," she said, too fast. "We can address this internally." Leadership turned her head. "We are," she said. "Right now." She looked down at the report again and read one more line, quieter this time. "Unauthorized authorship prior to event." That phrase felt like a door closing. Keith Halpern shifted in his chair. One of the team leads looked down at the table. Someone cleared their throat near the pastries, untouched and stale now. "This meeting summary will be withdrawn," leadership continued. "The incident report will be amended, and the administrative leave is lifted." I felt the words hit my chest before my head caught up. Lifted. Leadership looked at me directly. "Your record will reflect that you did not engage in misconduct." I nodded once. Not relief yet. Just acknowledgement. Then she turned back to the table. "Grant Mercer," she said. "Your authority to author or approve staff documentation is suspended pending review." Grant pushed back from the table. His chair scraped loud against the floor. "That's disproportionate," he said. His voice finally cracked. Leadership didn't look at him. "It's proportional to the paper trail." Nadine's hands were clenched in her lap. Her face had gone pale in a way makeup could not hide. "And human resources leadership," the woman added, "will be reassigned during this review." Nadine's head snapped up. Reassigned? Yes, leadership said. Effective today. No one applauded. No one gasped. The room stayed quiet, heavy with witnesses who would remember this exactly as it happened. Leadership stood. A correction memo will be issued by end of day, she said. It will cite the discrepancies we reviewed. This meeting is adjourned. Chairs moved. Papers shuffled. The sound came back in pieces. Grant stood frozen for a second longer, then turned and left without looking at anyone. Nadine gathered her things too carefully, like precision might save her. She avoided my eyes. I stayed where I was until the room thinned. I didn't rush the ending. When it was quiet enough, leadership came back to the table and picked up my parking receipt. She held it between two fingers. "Keep this," she said, and slid it back to me. It did its job. I folded it once and placed it back in my notebook. Outside the conference room, the hallway smelled the same as it always had. Lemon cleaner. Toner. Nothing dramatic. Marisol Vega stood by the door, clipboard tucked under her arm. She met my eyes and gave a small nod. Not approval. Confirmation. Security guard Ron Patel looked up from the desk as I passed. "Welcome back," he said, like it was a normal morning. "It is now," I said. I walked out into the afternoon light and sat in my car for a minute without starting it. My hands rested on the steering wheel. They were steady. My phone buzzed once. An email notification. Subject: Correction to Incident Summary, reference 0417. I didn't open it right away. I drove home with the windows cracked, letting the noise of the street fill the space where adrenaline had been. At my kitchen table, I set everything out one last time. The notebook. The receipt. The leave form that no longer meant anything. I opened the correction email and read it once. It was plain. Specific. Boring in the best way. The accusation was rescinded. The summary withdrawn. The record corrected. No apology. No flourish. I closed the laptop. I took my notebook and flipped through the pages until I reached the last entry from that day. I smoothed the paper once, slow, the way I always had. Then I closed it. I slid the notebook into the drawer and shut it. The room went quiet in a way that felt earned.